I serve a far nobler cause than mere profit. Just like my brothers.
But there are herbs, mixtures, and extracts. My guards are proof of this. They were madmen before I found and freed them from the prisons of their own minds.
Do they strike you as proper slaves? Unfit for even the most menial tasks? No. I took them not to sell, but to save. And yet you'd kill us all. For no other reason than it was asked of you.
Everything I did to prepare them for the new world. Stole their food? No. I took possession so that when the lean times came, it might be rationed properly.
How could I finance a war in service to the same god that calls me an abomination?
Not so innocent. Dissident voices cut deep as steel. They disrupt order. In this, I do agree with the Brotherhood.
Freed it, you fool. From the tyranny of faith.
Is it not ancient scrolls that inspire the Crusaders? That fill Salah ad-Din and his men with a sense of righteous fury? Their texts endanger others.
The only difference between your master and I is that he did not want to share.
Destroy the only thing capable of ending the Crusades and creating true peace? Never.
Hello and welcome back to Assassin's Creed and the Templar Cause. Today we are moving on to Altair's 7th target in the game, Master Sibrand. We have tackled a number of interesting Templars to this point, but none as completely terrified as this one. Excluding our last Templar, who had some interesting motivations, most of our targets to this point have had some noteworthy explanations, and that applies here as well. As before, we will go through some of Sibrand's lore, his actions in the game, as well as discuss his motivations and relation to the overarching Templar cause. Here we go. Sibrand was born in 1157, placing him in the middle of his 30s by the time players catch up with him. Little is known about his early life, before his time in the Third Crusade, but Sibrand eventually became Grand Master of the Knights Teutonic. In the game, this monastic military order assisted the Crusader army in its capture of Acre, and, likely because of this, Sibrand found himself in an incredibly powerful position in that city. With this responsibility came a change in heart, and Sibrand found himself the target of Templar wooing. At some point, Sibrand began to lose his faith in his god, as well as the Crusader cause, and formally joined the Templar conspiracy. This brings us to his actions in the game, and a perfect example of a man collapsing in on himself from pressure and anxiety.
You are mistaken, Master Sibrand. I would never propose violence against any man, and most certainly not against you.
So you say, and yet no one here will vouch for you. What am I to make of this?
I live a simple life, my lord, as do all men of the cloth. It is not for us to call attention to ourselves.
Perhaps. Or perhaps they do not know you because you are not a man of God, but an assassin!
Never!
You wear the same robes.
If they cover themselves as we do, it is only to instill uncertainty and fear. You must not give in.
Are you calling me a coward? Challenging my authority? Are you perhaps hoping to turn my own knights against me?
No. I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I've done nothing wrong.
I don't recall accusing you of any wrongdoing, which makes your outburst rather odd. Is it the presence of guilt that compels a confession?
But I confess nothing.
Ah, defiant to the very end.
What do you mean?
William and Garnier were too confident, and they paid for this with their lives. I won't make the same mistake. If you truly are a man of God, then surely the Creator will provide for you! Let him stay my hand!
You've gone mad! Will none of you come forward to stop this? He is clearly poisoned by his own fear, compelled to see enemies where none exist.
It seems the people share my concern. What I do for Acre! No! Stay vigilant, men. Report any suspicious activity to the guard. I doubt we've seen the last of these assassins. Persistent bastards. Now get back to work.
Altair enters Acre as Sibrand hits his lowest point. He has been asked by the Templars to use his control of the port of Acre to blockade himself and the Crusaders in the city and prevent any foreign aid to get into it. As the Templars are making their final preparations towards Levantine domination, they understand that European powers will likely continue to send troops, food, and other supplies to help relieve the soon-to-be even more besieged Crusaders. Sibrand is in the perfect position to cripple the Crusaders and prevent any and all assistance from getting through. On the inside, Sibrand has completely lost faith in his god. This has come from his interactions with the Templars and their Apple of Eden activities before the game. This has shattered his mind, and his response is, to this revelation, to protect his own life to an extreme. Paranoia is the best way to describe his behavior, as he brutally murders assassin lookalikes, doubles the guard, and stalks around in a panic. He desperately wants to remain alive, and the recent assassinations done by Altair have shaken him to his core.
Please, don't do this.
You are afraid.
Of course I am afraid.
But you'll be safe now, held in the arms of your god.
Have my brothers taught you nothing? I know what waits for me. For all of us.
If not your god, then what?
Nothing. Nothing waits. And that is what I fear.
You don't believe.
How could I, given what I know? What I've seen? Our treasure was the proof.
Proof of what?
That this life is all we have.
Linger a while longer then, and tell me of the part you were to play.
A blockade by sea. To keep the fool kings and queens from sending reinforcements. Once we...
Conquered the Holy Land?
Freed it, you fool. From the tyranny of faith.
Freedom? You worked to overthrow cities, control men's minds, murdered any who spoke against you.
I followed my orders, believing in my cause. Same as you.
This is a symptom of his allegiance rather than the reason why he has joined with the Templars. Their teachings shattered his world, and this lack of faith has led him to be even more devout to their cause. Because he believes that life is all we have, he wishes that the Templars seize control of the Holy Land in order to save its citizens from the false faiths. In Sibrand's mind, both Islam and Christianity are misguiding the population, and it is only the Templars who know the truth and can do something about it. Freeing these people is the only way, in Sibrand's eyes, to ensure that they make the most of their lives. This brings us to Sibrand's judgment. He is an interesting character in the Templar roster, and one that personifies the lack of traditional faith that the Templar Order in general has. This doesn't affect how we should judge Sibrand, but rather helps explain why he ends up in such a sorry state. To be honest, Sibrand is one of the more sympathetic Templars in the Levant. He has his world rearranged and is coping incredibly poorly. The pressure of his new role with the Templars, the conflicted feelings with betraying his former allegiance, and his god being replaced by the Father of Understanding has left him a shell of his former self, which makes the panic and paranoia a bit understandable, but does not excuse his blatant murder of the scholar. So where does this leave Sibrand? Well, Sibrand is still a horrible figure in Assassin's Creed. He kills in a panic and is quick to temper, and the blockade he was going to install would likely have led to food shortages and even widespread death within the city. In general, as with the others, Sibrand is guilty because his actions are brutal and his goal is misguided. Thanks for watching another episode of Assassin's Creed in the Templar Cause. We're actually running out of Templars, which is exciting. Just 2 more remain on Altair's list.
More pleasing to them. That is why I sent you to steal their treasure. That is why I keep it locked away. And that is why you kill them. So long as even one survives, so too does their desire to create a new world order. Take your equipment. Seek out this last man. With his death, Robert de Sable will at last be vulnerable.
It will be done.
Safety and peace upon you, Altair.